Thank you for tuning in to Terry Swoop Videos. I wanted to talk about the black Africans being discriminated against in China. They're being kicked out of their apartments. They're being banned from going into restaurants, all because the Chinese government believes that African immigrants are more contagious, when that's not true at all. If you look at the statistics, African immigrants have the lowest percentage of coronavirus cases. So I think the Chinese government is completely wrong in this case. Now, I wanted to talk about an incident where Africans were going into McDonald's and they were banned and kicked out of McDonald's. And the McDonald's in China is completely different than McDonald's in America. And I think it's time that the McDonald's owners remove their restaurants from China, because this is really making them look bad. Now, the CEO of McDonald's has came out and apologized for the Chinese government kicking Africans out of the restaurants. But this is not enough. They need to remove their restaurants from China. They need to make a statement to show that they don't accept this type of behavior. Nobody should be kicked out of the restaurant because of their skin color. Nobody should be kicked out of the restaurant because of their ethnicity. So this is wrong no matter who does it. And it amazes me how a lot of black Americans won't speak up for black Africans. It's like we only want to speak against, we only want to talk about civil rights when it involves us as black Americans. But when it involves black Africans, we're quiet. We don't have a word to say about this. There's genocides going all over Africa. You don't see any of these pro-black Americans doing videos speaking about these genocides in Africa. And then now you have all this discrimination against Africans in China. You don't see any of these pro-black YouTubers doing videos talking about this. It's like they only want to say something when it involves us as black Americans. But when it involves African immigrants in another country, they don't have anything to say about it. You're not going to see Al Sharpton say anything about this. You're not going to see Jesse Jackson say anything about this. You're not going to see any of these woke Twitter activists saying anything about this. In fact, they're defending the Chinese government. If any person says the virus is a Chinese virus, they're attacking them and calling them a racist. This is how hypocritical the social justice movement is. It's like they will only speak against something when it fits their narrative. I'm against racism and discrimination no matter who does it. Whether it's a white person doing it, whether it's a Chinese person doing it, I don't care who you are. Whether you're black, white, yellow, brown, I don't care what race you are or where you're from. Any person that discriminates against someone based on the color of their skin is wrong. Now, Bill Moore did a video saying that we should call the virus the Chinese virus because that's where the virus came from. The virus started in Wuhan, China. And he says it's too politically correct. It's too politically correct to stop calling it the Chinese virus, because most viruses are called by the origin in which they came from. And I agree with him 100%. I don't think it should be called the Chinese virus. I think it should be called the Wuhan virus, because that's the area that it came from in China. So I believe that's what it should be called. And just like Bill Moore, I think people need to stop being so sensitive and stop being so politically correct and start calling out things for what they are. This is why I can't stand a lot of these woke activists on Twitter. A lot of these woke activists on Twitter are hypocrites because they're defending the Chinese government. They're defending the discrimination against Africans. This is why these people are hypocrites. That's why I want to encourage people on the left to start practicing what you preach. It's like they care more about PC culture and woke Twitter followers and woke Twitter points than they do about doing what's right. And doing what's right is speaking out against discrimination, no matter who does it. A lot of woke Twitter activists will only speak out against discrimination when it's a white American who's doing the discriminating. But when it's another race or another culture, they don't have anything to say about it. If you look at discrimination against women, the worst discrimination against women is in China. Women are forced to be sterilized. In China, you're only allowed to have one child, and the government forces you to be sterilized. This is what makes a lot of American feminists so hypocritical, because they will only speak out against discrimination towards women when it fits their narrative. If you're only against something when it fits your narrative, then you're not really against what you say you're against. It's the same thing with discrimination towards women in the Middle East. In most Middle Eastern countries, a woman can be stoned or sent to jail for wearing a pair of pants or showing her face in public. So I think feminists need to start practicing what they preach. If you're going to say you support women's rights, then you should speak up for all women that are being discriminated against, whether it be in China, whether it be in the Middle East. You should speak up no matter where it's going on. But they will only speak up when it involves an American doing something bad to a woman. So I want to encourage people on the left to start practicing what you preach. Any person that's defending the Chinese government and the way they're treating Africans, the way they're treating women, is a hypocrite. So people on the left need to start practicing what they preach. So I agree with Bill Moore 100%. If you're going to say you're a social justice advocate, then you need to practice what you preach and stop being a hypocrite. A lot of people have different opinions about this topic. Leave a comment, rate, and subscribe.